Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Loading Screen. We don't do these podcasts anywhere near as often as we should because we're busy and there's not a lot of stuff to talk about sometimes. So, yeah. But I'm glad that we do have stuff to talk about, actually. Today, we brought in Cera Symmetry, who is our third returning guest. I think you've been here like 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah, I lose count. Most of the time, it's I say something and then Jin goes off on a tangent about Elden Ring, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, Elden Ring!" So,
yeah, sure does. We don't have Jin here today, mostly because Jin hasn't touched Monster Hunter, and we're going to be talking about a lot of Monster Hunter today. So Jin's kind of out of the loop on that, and so Cera, being our resident, guy who likes to talk a lot and plays a lot of Monster Hunter. Good fit. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started, but let's talk about what we got to drink today, huh?
I mean, it's the usual for me, good old Morgans and Coke, the classic. Why deviate from what I know works? Also, I tried Southern Comfort for the first time a couple of days ago, and Jesus Christ, that is so sweet. Like,
my grandmother
and your
loves
teeth
SoCo.
Disintegrate.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can't deal with it. Too sweet for me. But yeah. How about you then, Fem? I'm sure you've got something much more interesting, or is it just coffee for you for today?
Well, so it is like almost noon here. It's still early on Sunday at least. I got up at like 9 today. I know it's like because you're in the EU, it's like what 7, 8 o'clock for you.
Yeah.
So being that it's early, I do have coffee, but I've also put a bunch of Tullamore Dew in it. So we're doing
an Irish coffee.
Irish coffees because, I mean, there's always an excuse to drink in the morning.
Yeah, so. That's one of my favorite things about whenever I come on for the loading screen is like I'm automatically a burden just by where I live. My fucking time zone is just the worst thing to organizing anything with the rest of the community.
It's really not, to be honest, because we do a podcast. We've done them before with like with Seth and Aang and stuff, and they're like in the Philippines, and so they're even further out. But being that I'm not really working right now since I bought my house and moved, I can be on whenever. So I can accommodate whoever.
That's the thing with you. It's like, because you do have a decent, your schedule's fairly free outside of streaming, of course. It's a lot easier. But then if I want to say, for example, Seth, or like if I want to play with any of the Americans, I'm like, either they have to wake up at 6 a.m. or I have to like be awake at 2 a.m. and just completely conducive because there's like 3 prominent English creators right now in my time zone, so right. I just have to hope the Germans are awake. So
yeah, and see, and I have that problem too, because there's actually not a whole lot of like West Coast based Monster Hunter people to talk to or chat or hang out with. Like everyone's on East Coast or in the UK or just further back that way. So like I'm not around for anybody.
Grass is always greener on the other side. We've all got conflicting schedules at this point, but yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's good to be back on and to talk inanely. So, I mean, should we just get the main thing out of the way right now, because we're both in a bit of a terrible place with PC Rise. Let's
just go ahead and start with that.
Let's get all the bad shit
can't play regardless of who's around with their time zone.
Yeah, exactly. I tell you what. I'll tell my story. I've told you this before, Fem, but comedy errors. So I don't know if you want me to date this podcast.
Go for it, man.
Okay, so we're currently recording on the 16th of January, right, which is a Sunday. Monster Hunter Rise came out on, the 12th, 13th, which was a Wednesday, my time zone, so English time zone, on the 12th at 5 p.m. I was geared up for it. Like, on the weeks heading up to it, I'd done all my stuff. I'd applied for an early access code, as a lot of creators do. That's just a part of it. Doing whatever. And then on the 11th, the day before the release day, I'd say around about 20 hours before the game was due to release on PC, my PC wouldn't turn on. Okay. I pressed the button, it would light up, and it would shut down. So I go, shit. Luckily, there's a local shop, sent it off for repairs, whatever. Turns out it was just the CPU fan, and they weren't going to be able to get it repaired until the next day. I get my early code through by email a few hours before the game releases, and I'm stuck. I can't do anything. So I go, whatever, fine. PC shows up, works brilliantly now. Everything runs like 20 degrees cooler, which has been amazing in of itself.
What fan did you have before? It was just like a standard, like...
Yeah, I was a real like lazy bastard with it and got a pre-built. If you want to look it up, it's a Acer Orion P30600, which will mean something to somebody somewhere. But yeah, it was the standard CPU fan, and then they replaced it with a Corsair fan, which again I don't know
Is it a liquid cooling fan, or is it a radiator, or what? Just a standard fan?
It just looks like a black box above the CPU. Just like a black box fan.
Does it have tubes connected to your CPU?
Oh, no, like water cooling or liquid cooling or anything like that. No.
So there's a difference between like water liquid cooling and then like a radiator. Most people run radiators, which is technically liquid cooling, but you don't have to change the liquid at all. It's just fluid between a radiator that fans out the top and then the CPU, and then it just cycles, the warm liquid, and then goes out the radiator, comes back. That's it. So
I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea. All I know is that
I was
it
just
works
curious.
now.
Yeah, okay, fine.
I'm like my younger sister when she went to take her car in for the first time. She was like, I don't know what they did. Might as well have been magic, but it works now. So
okay,
that's me.
Well, that's good.
But I had that, and then I built up Rise, and I go, sweet, got my early code. Let's fire this in. It's a day late after it's already released. Whatever. Let's play some Rise. And it loads up, and what happens on the start screen is the game says, do you want to create a save file? You go, of course, yes. You set your preferences for your buttons and your privacy policy and all that kind of shit. And it goes, okay, a save file will be created. Then you hit that, and it goes, saving, failed to save. And this little pop-up comes up that just says, it cannot create a save file, and then it loops you back to the beginning. I have still not seen Hinoa singing at the title screen on PC Rise yet. I haven't seen that. I cannot get to that point. It stings, dude, because out of all of the people who make videos and got early access codes and content creators and stuff, I haven't seen anybody else but me have this problem. And I am a very, very tough pill to swallow. A very tough pill. And it's very, very frustrating that games nowadays seem to have a lot of issues like this, where they launch and they just don't work. I'm very grateful for the fact I got the code, and I think it's fortunate that I didn't spend any money on it, because if you can imagine being somebody who spent what was it, like $60, I think it is, in the Steam store.
Yep, it's
and
a full
then
price
you fire it up, and then what today is 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 days later, and
it might as well
doesn't work.
It feels like it.
That is not a good start at all. And I mentioned this. One thing I will say, silver lining, I am going to give some credit where credit is due, as I tweeted about this, and I said, this is unacceptable. I cannot play the game. I can't stream it. I had to stream on Friday. I streamed Switch Rise, and I was just so demotivated. I was like, where's everything, I will say our community manager for the EU, Jono, messaged me pretty much immediately, and we've been working together to get some fixes. Hopefully by the time this comes out, there are fixes and I can play the game. But wow, I don't think I need to sort of express how much of a terrible start that was, and especially when I don't see a lot of other people experiencing that issue outside of if you go onto the Steam forums. I'm like, of course it's going to be me.
There's a couple people that have similar issues. I think Wyverian had his save file completely deleted after a crash.
Oh, really? Yeah, I have seen that. I've seen that on Twitter, yeah, where basically you just need to be constantly backing up your saves.
Which is ridiculous.
I mean, what's the folder that you need to go into anyways? Because that might be worth for people to check out. I think it's under
C or whatever. It's wherever you installed Steam. So it's under Steam user data, and then in your user data folder, let me look it up here. So program files, Steam user data, and then just gonna be random numbers, which is your whatever code, and then it should be the most recent date modified folder. So it's like 1446780. And then inside the remote, Windows 64 save, and it's got all your saves in there.
And if you can understand all that shit, back up your saves. Because, that problem you can work around. This problem is just, it seems to be targeted at random, although people with, I think it was AMD hardware, had a bit more of an issue with it. It was more common with AMD stuff anyways, from what I'd seen from the Steam forums. But I will say, again, just, to put something positive on this terrible thing is that our community manager for the EU has been very, very on the ball with sort of, communicating about it, which is good. So,
lucky.
Very lucky, very fortunate. But Jesus Christ, this kind of shit should not be happening in current year,
Right. And so you can't play the game at all at this point. You bought a game that literally does not work right now, which is a pretty big letdown.
Especially as speaking very sort of honestly here, especially as somebody who doesn't have that much of an audience within Monster Hunter, seeing a lot of people suddenly appear out of the mud and their channels go to blistering new heights, and I'm still stuck in the same kind of rut
because you can't play the new games.
I need all the help I can get, and this is the complete opposite of that.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. So this, I'm going to say, we said just before we started recording that this isn't going to be the most Rise-friendly podcast at all, but that's because this shouldn't be happening. We should be getting stuck in and being able to play the way we want.
Well, and what's annoying too is that, like, I hate when this happens in a community, a game, or whatever. It doesn't matter what, but it's like nobody wants to look at the negatives at all. They want to see nothing but positives. And if you're saying anything negative or if you have any criticism, like, well, you're just a hater, and then you get like shunned.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's kind of why I've been, trying to say positives about it. Sucks that I can't play it. But from what I've seen for other people, they've been enjoying it. There's been interesting things that we've seen from speedruns already, actually, in terms of frame rate. Turns out the old frame rate affecting gameplay thing. Oh boy. It's a Capcom classic at this point. I don't know if you're familiar, but I think the Resident Evil 2 remake, and I've mentioned this multiple times before, but the Resident Evil 2 remake has different speedrun categories for different frame rates because they don't want the category to be pay for win. Basically, the more frame rate the game has, the better Leon's knife gets. So you can just knife your way through a playthrough.
Because it's faster. Yeah, you can literally just knife through.
Yeah.
Well,
and they were like, we still want people to compete.
Yeah. The TA Wiki did that for World, too. When World came out on PS5, they had to separate PS5 and PS4 because the PS5 had just better frame rate, and the game just plays better. You do more damage. It's more consistent. And
the gun lancers I follow, so Ryo, Yama, and Funatsube, the moment they got their PS5s, I was seeing, like, there was a sub 3 Alatreon by Funatsube. Funatsube. Amazing gun lance player, by the way, if you want to check him out. But,
isn't he like world record or something? It's like 257 or something, right?
I think it's 230 something. It's the one where he just spams smokes and stakes, and that's it. And because he's playing on PS5, the frame rate for the ticks on the worm stake gets amped up.
More ticks.
So it's I think it's heroics as well. So of course not using smokes, so it's not TA, but still. It's genuinely impressive, like, use of the mechanics. I think I could be wrong. I might be thinking 320. It's either 230 or 320. One of the two. Either way, they're both very impressive times. So
for a Latria.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there was an eschaton at all. Well, with smoke bombs, no, I don't think there would be. But yeah, it's the whole frame rate affecting gameplay. I was watching some Charge Blade runs with Magna where the frame rate affected where the player would be pushed around by Magna because of its large body. There's a lot of stuff, and very early days at this point, once we really start breaking open the game, especially since there's a lot of early tools now, everybody can have access to the highest legal charms, which is a big thing for Rise, and can unlock all their equipment and items.
And here's gonna be the funny part, is that nobody's gonna care. On Switch, everyone fucking lost their shit on charms, and now on PC, suddenly everyone's gonna have good charms and no one's gonna give a shit anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think the whole reasoning behind that was, like, one, when that conversation first started, I don't know if you'd agree, but we still didn't know what the highest legal role was. Theoretically,
no, we did actually, because here's the thing. We just didn't know it at the time. Like GU, Rise has the built-in stat checker. If you have something that is over, I think is that in patch 1.1 or 1.2 they added it in, where charms over legal limit would get like zeroed out. They would have no stats on them after you like loaded into a quest or something.
A sanity checker kind of thing, right?
Yeah, there you go. They did have that. So not initially, but like within like the first like 2 weeks of the game coming out, they like on the first patch they put it in. So we knew past then what all the legal charms would be. Now whether or not they were actually obtainable because we're still in charm tables, who knows?
Oh yeah, well that was kind of a separate thing, because now with PC, I think everybody who's going to be competing in speedrunning is going to be modding in the highest legal charms now that there's this sanity checker in there, which again to me is fine to do, because my only issue with it before is that people were potentially modding in non-legal charms. The sanity checker I thought just didn't exist, or I wasn't too privy to that information, so that's where my line was. And I know there's this big discussion of where everybody's line exists in speedrunning and mods and stuff, and one of my favorite things that I've seen is people saying, oh, but you could mod on Switch. I'm like, yeah, okay, go get a Switch and mod it as easily as you can go to Nexus, download a mod, and do it from there. Like,
right.
That it's two completely different lines of modding the game. It can be done. Is it easy? No. But yeah, so now we're going to see with PC, we're going to see a lot more of sort of the upper limit of what weapons are actually capable of with max charms, with max X, with max Y.
With max frame rate.
Max, well, for better or for worse. Did you see that tweet? I think it was today.
I did, with the slide and how fucking fast and far you can move on 300 frames.
You go for it, Fem. Go on. Give that an explanation for us, because
I don't know the explanation, because like the guy said, and like I've seen, he can't recreate it in other maps. But basically, inside the training area, if you do a slide and then you're picking up speed off the slide, your momentum builds up by frame. So within a short distance, you get way more speed coming down a slide, and then you can jump, and jumping preserves your momentum, so you get shot like 10 times further than if you're playing on like 60 frames. And then you can also react quicker because there's more frames, and you can wire bug fucking back and forth way faster. It's ridiculous.
My favorite thing about this as well is that anytime like fucked up speed or fucked up momentum exists in a video game, I just think, are we going to see a BLJ in Monster Hunter? Are we going to be able to go, yahoo up the fucking Bowser stairs like in Mario 64? Like,
I'm sure people are going to abuse that. You think like getting towards monsters, like sliding down ramps much faster and just rocketing off towards them? We'll see it for sure.
I mean, at some point, there's going to be a point where if you can really optimize the movement and abuse this like frame speed, there are going to be spawns for speedruns that might actually be more optimal. I can't think of them right now, but there may be spawns where you can use a ramp or use some speed to make it more viable and to make it quicker to get to, rather than, say, other ones.
Right.
Potentially. Who knows? But there was that, and then there was Underflow as well. Rise has not been I know with PC launches, especially
to be fair, let's say underflowing, that's a deliberate manipulation.
Yes, but where's the cap? Like, there were normally caps imposed on this shit, right? And I mean, underflow is a thing that affected the first generation of Pokemon, a series of games that were held together by like spit and Kleenex,
Yeah.
To give sort of context, basically, if you, again, it's going into the files and modifying values, but if you modify a Might Seed value to give you enough minus attack, you basically have displayed like minus 2 million or 200 million on your stat screen, but it underflows because the value that holds that minus attack stat doesn't know what to do when it goes under the maximum and just overflows it to the next, like brings
back
it up to the maximum. Underflow, overflow, I don't know which is the right phrase.
No, it's underflow. It's going back into negatives and then it loops back around.
So that basically means I had somebody who was modding at the time, and I saw them do it on an impact crater with hammer on a crit. They managed to achieve 1 billion in a single hit. Literally, the damage number was 1 billion, and it was just like all of these numbers on screen. Very funny. Not sure. I mean, of course, you have to go in and forcibly mod damage, which is not something that will be relevant in speedruns outside of the few, arsehole hackers that you encounter in randoms. But it's just very funny that exists. Just seeing the 1 billion damage number, amazing. I love it. So good.
And I know we kind of skipped over it, but I want to talk about my experience at Rise.
Yeah, no, I was going to go back to that because tangents again, but hey.
Yeah, no, we're going to go on a lot of tangents. It's fine, though. So I also, surprisingly enough, I was really excited to play Rise on PC because the reason why I stopped playing Rise on the Switch is, one, I don't like Switch controls. I really don't. I don't fit in like a Joy-Con or a Pro controller or something like that. I've been using my PS4 controller for my Switch runs, which is fine, but being that it's kind of has to go through like a Bluetooth dongle, I always felt like there was a slight delay and stuff, and it always felt just slightly off controlling it. So I didn't like that. The Switch also had mad problems with frame rate, which affected fire rate for bow guns, which is annoying as shit. And then it's also got the input buffer and input dropping of shots, which is equally annoying. So playing Rise and trying to do like speedruns with guns was not fun at all. I did not like it, especially because I didn't have a turbo controller, and I saw what people could do with the turbo controller, which looked awesome, but I didn't have that. So I didn't really want to play Rise on Switch. It wasn't that I hated the game. I don't hate the game. All Monster Hunter games are good. So when Rise was coming out for PC, I'm like, great.
Except for the first one sucked. What?
I mean, if you want to compare it to other PS2 games at the times, I mean, there's a lot of shitty games. It was definitely not the worst.
This is just my hatred of right analog stick controls, because what were they thinking? Let's be honest.
True.
But anyways.
But yeah, so like when it was coming out on PC, I was like, oh great, I can play, you know, basically how I would on World and just play with Rise. And then obviously we're gonna have a little bit of different controls because we have to do with the wire bugs. So it's like no big deal. So when the demo came out, like we definitely saw that there were some issues with the mouse and keyboard controls. And the problem is that it's so niche because it really only affects mouse and keyboard players that use guns. Like that market of people dwindles significantly. So the issue that we had in the demo was that the MO scroll and the MO coding for bows and bow guns couldn't be boundable for whatever reason. Like it has a section in like the config that says, hey, you know, bind this to any key, but it doesn't work. The key literally, like whatever you bound it to, you cannot get it to scroll at all.
So explain this for me then, Fem, because I never used mouse and keyboard in PC World, and I certainly didn't use it with gun weapons. Are we talking about the ammo selection above the item bar?
Yep.
Which I assume you would scroll with the mouse key to go through, or what was the situation in World?
Oh, okay, so I don't really know about World, but the way I had it in World was that I have it bound to, here's my shitty trackball, because I play with a trackball because everyone thinks I'm a lunatic, I have it bound to mouse 3 and 4, the up, down, forward, back buttons on your mouse. So that way, when I'm playing, I could easily, rather than shoot, just swap between my MOs. And then I have scroll for item bar, and I need that because I need to have the 1 through 9 hotkeys be all the crafting MOs and swapping MO craftables and stuff, so I can mash those to craft really quick. And so this is literally the only accessible way for me to get MO and items on a mouse and keyboard. And it worked out great in World. I had no problem playing World. Like, it was a little clunky to get started with, but ultimately, I put a ton of hours on PC World. Everyone knows that. So with Rise coming around, I was like, okay, I can just rebind all that stuff. No problem. But you can't bind mouse 3-4 to MO and coding scroll, which is what it's set to by default, by the way, which I thought was great. But the keybind straight up does not work. The keybind does not work.
So literally it says in the options, hey, you know those buttons you have on your mouse? Here's what they're used for. And then when you press it, it goes...
Yeah, nothing happens.
And that's it.
Literally nothing happens. And then you can change it.
Yeah.
I changed it to like up, down arrow, 8, 9, fucking other random buttons. It does not work. You cannot move the MO and item thing. Like the bindings don't work for it. And that was the case in the demo. And then in the demo, we found out that for whatever reason, the action bar, like the camera and other weird shit bar, if you rebound that to whatever you want, that would actually do the MO encoding scroll because it was bugged or whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. But then I got the keybind set up. I made a video. I was like, okay, this is weird. It's bugged, but you know, here's all the keybinds we're running for Gunner. And I got it working pretty comfortably. I was okay with it.
In the demo, right?
Yeah, in the demo. Well, I guess they fixed that bug because in the actual game that's out, the action bar does the action bar stuff now. Shocker. But the MO bar still doesn't work.
So they didn't resolve the bug that caused you to need to use the action bar, but they patched the only way you could make it work. So theoretically, if they hadn't patched the action bar thing, you'd be able to use your mouse and keyboard controls in Rise, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. And so, so there's one broken keybind, and it's really important because so right now, the only way that you can deal with it is you have to have your MO scroll on your mouse wheel, which that's fine for some people. I totally get it. It's totally normal and fine. So the only two options are mouse wheel and hold control mouse wheel. And the problem with the hold control button is that when you hold control, it opens up like all the UI. So like all like the stuff, like the item bars, the action bars, like your radial menu, all that stuff's open. And while that's open, you can't aim, you can't look around, you can't shoot, you can't do any of that stuff. And so I would have to have it so that the MO is on the scroll and then the item bar is on control scroll. And so anytime I want to move items over, I can't look around, I can't reload, I can't shoot, I can't do anything. It locks everything. And then I can't have my items on the hotbar because I have to have all my craftable MOs there to make those accessible. So that's the only option to get that to work. And that's the problem, is that the control opens up everything, so I can't do anything while I'm scrolling through items. It's not like, you know, if I'm playing World, I could just, while I'm fighting and shooting, quickly scroll through stuff to get ready to use things. Can't do that in this. And then on top of that, there's all sorts of weird conflicts with the keybinds, like, because you can't have stuff not keybind for whatever reason. Like, I use E for special ammo. So, like, if I need to put down a landmine, load special ammo, use shelling for gun lance, whatever, I use E. It's right there next to my, you know, WASDA, no problem. But the default keybind for that is turret special ammo. Like if you're on a cannon or whatever and you need to do like the alternate shot for the cannon, because you know, like the electric cannons. Yeah. Jesus. And so that's a conflict. And for whatever reason, yeah, so that is a conflict. I can't have special ammo be that and turret controls be that, which make no sense because it's a completely different character state. There's no point where I'm on a turret and I need to use special ammo like for my gun. I don't know why it's a conflict. So I have to move that to like some random key like 9 or like comma, because it has to be out of the way because every other keybind's taken. And so basically I'll never be able to use that because the keybind's weird. And also Rise doesn't allow you to bind multiple keybinds to a single action. Like I can't do like shift 1 or control 1 to do something. Like it has to be only single inputs.
Oh, wow. Did it allow that shit back in World and Iceborne? Like compound inputs?
I don't think so. But the thing is that Rise has so many more inputs because of all the Silkbind stuff that I don't see why they wouldn't. It's just really weird. And then there's other shit like gunners can't have a sheath and use item like in World. If you have your sheath use item is basically like, okay, I'm gonna hold down shift to sprint, and then it would, you know, sheath my weapon and sprint. And then you can't do that in Rise because for whatever reason the shift button by default is use item and sprint. Use item sprint. But it's toggleable. It's not hold. It's only toggle.
Yeah.
So you have to like
2 separate inputs for it.
Right. So if I want to use an item though, I have to use an item, and then it would, because sheath and use items the same button, it sheaths my weapons, but it doesn't use the item right away. I have to push it again after the weapon sheath to complete that action and then use an item. But if you bind the item to the action bar and click like use potion, it will sheath and drink your potion with 1 input, not 2.
Oh my god. So it has to go through that check of like, right now this key is for sheath, but it's not going to be for something later. It has to do that first. Yeah, it's sequentially rather than
it's all weird.
I was actually quite skeptical when you said like, oh, I've got a mouse with extra buttons. I thought, okay, well, not a lot of players are going to. But the fact that mouse 3 and 4 are automatically bound to that ammo scroll thing that you mentioned, the fact that that's an intended design and it just doesn't work, that's, ooh, baby. That's, yeah.
So
real troublesome.
It's a shame that like a lot of the keybinds make no sense and a lot of stuff doesn't work, literally doesn't work. And one of like the selling points was optimized keyboard and mouse controls. I have it right there like in their fucking Steam trailer.
We know that was all BS when we saw the Wyvern Fire input, and I'm going to make the same joke every single time. So my favorite... for people who don't know, the default mouse and keyboard for Wyvern Fire is all 3 left click, right click, and middle click. Not middle scroll. Like you have to push in. Same time.
So you have to like take your whole hand and fucking smash your mouse, and hopefully that it comes out.
My favorite joke is there's a GIF that you can get on Twitter of somebody holding, you know, the thinking emoji like that. It's a GIF of somebody holding the thinking emoji and they're just crushing it in their hand. That's what you have to do with Wyvern Fire. You just pick up your mouse, you go, and then you like tactical reload another mouse. Just right, okay, Wyvern Fire done. It's not like Wyvern Fire is even worth using in the game anyways.
Yeah,
or gun lance in general, but you know, but Jesus Christ, optimized. Oh yeah, let me just. Why isn't it working? Crazy.
And see, and I'm glad that you got to reach out to Jono and try and get or at least bring up to Capcom like, hey, this is an issue. Even if it's just you, like, at least they saw it.
I mean, yeah, it's just me with a small audience and all that, but I'm not going to say anything bad. I will actually say, name dropping and all that from what I've seen from Jono as our new EU community manager, I do think he's been doing a fantastic job. And this might look like sucking ass and might look like, oh, give me free codes and streaming opportunities, whatever. Like, I'm just saying what I see. Like, that's what it looks like. Guy's been very communicative. Guy's been very, very understanding of the issues. And so from where we are right now, I think he's doing a great job.
Well, yeah, that's
now give
good.
me money.
I haven't heard anything from anything on the whole mouse and keyboard fuck up. So I don't know if you know or saw, I got into the Capcom Creators Program. So
oh really? No, I didn't know. Congrats.
They gave me that and like my key on the launch day. Clearly they didn't want me having early access.
Oh no, I think we both got the same sort of key where the embargo was. I don't know if it's taboo to talk about this stuff, but you do get embargoes with keys. I think for Stories 2, I personally had one. It said your embargo for review content. So basically, it's slightly earlier. Sort of a peek behind the curtain here. They say you can lift your review embargo at this point. So if you want to make a video that says, I got early access to this game, here's what I think of it, that's when the videos can be published earlier.
Right.
Whereas you still have time to make like videos on YouTube ready to drop, and you can make progress in the game before you start streaming it if you're a streamer. And Fem and I got the sort of same code where they said, okay, here's your code, you can play the game, you can access it early, brilliant, here's how you do it. Just don't publish any YouTube videos or don't stream it until the game
did not
drops.
get that at all.
Did you not?
No, I didn't get it early. I got it the day of and just said, hey, here's a code. And here's the funny thing about that too. I'm glad I got one. I am appreciative.
Are you sure though? Because like my code was on the same day, and they said you will be able to access the game.
No, mine said you cannot get it until game launch. Like you cannot.
Oh.
You can redeem it, but you can't play until game launch. I literally could. It was a standard game code.
Oh, so, interesting. No. Okay.
But I'm so glad I got one. But at the same time, it's like I don't know what to do with it because nobody told me, because I had asked for like an early copy like a month ago, and I got no reply. They just said, hey, if you want, you can sign up for the creators program. Great. Heard nothing for this entire time up until the day of Rise launch. I had already bought the game. I had pre-ordered it. I had it ready to go, and I had it basically like installed and ready. And then I got this code. I'm like, thanks. So
I guess I refund now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the thing.
It's always a difficult topic to talk about.
No, sorry, go ahead. No, go for it.
I was going to say, it's always a difficult topic to talk about with early access because a lot of times it does seem to a lot of creators that those codes are given out at random. And I'm sure if we don't know either way, that's the thing.
We do know.
For me, from my experience, I mean, we've spoken about why potentially not be getting codes
here, I'll peel back a little bit more in the curtain that you don't see.
Go for it.
Because, I don't know, I probably shouldn't be saying this. Aster still is diving through that 60 gigabyte Capcom data breach shit. We have all sorts of fucking info. We know where the shit goes.
Yeah, behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff is, that's another thing, but I can only talk about it in my experience.
Yeah. It's not random. I was going to say it's not random.
Yeah. But with the codes and stuff, this is a very sensitive topic, and to be honest, I'm probably already blacklisted if this part goes up. So hey, in for a penny, in for a pound. But it's a very difficult topic to tackle as a content creator as well, especially if you're a smaller creator like myself. You might see people with less of a Twitter or YouTube or Twitch following get codes, and you think, well, what have I done wrong? Have I been blacklisted? What's going on? All this kind of stuff. And I've been trying to change this. This is a personal thing for me, is trying not to base my entire fucking channel around early access codes and that kind of stuff, because that's a privilege rather than something I should be doing,
Right.
It's not directly tied to my performance. I can make a bunch of banger videos, which is all of them. And I might
There's
not get
symmetry
early
on
access.
YouTube, everybody.
Yeah, that's me. That's the only reason I'm here. I'm going to sign off now. No, but it is a very interesting thing in sort of the mindset of different content creators, because, depending on your attitudes towards making videos, depending on your attitudes towards your opinion of your own content and other people's content and the way you behave and the way you interact with other members of the community, there's so many layers that go into it. And, sometimes being just somebody who makes their silly little videos and that's where you see yourself at, it can be a bit overwhelming. But yeah, this whole early access code thing it's a very difficult thing to navigate in terms of having a conversation about it, because there are actual official embargoes over it. Incredibly difficult, and especially with how we've both had such let's be honest, a poor Rise launch. of course, there'll be the crowd out there. Imagine being Johnny No Name or whatever, just some random person who bought the game for $60, and then they had the same issues that I had. They don't have the audience, they don't have the privilege of having this code, the reach, so they are immediately going to go to anger, which I think is, to be honest, a semi-reasonable response to it. Because if you bought a game and it just didn't fucking run, that's $60. That's like for a person living by themselves, that's like a week or two if you shop frugally of food. That's a big deal,
It is. Yeah.
It's games costing this much shouldn't be launching with these issues where you can't play them. I mean, your scenario is a bit different.
It's not I can't play. It's that it feels bad to play.
Yeah, exactly. But it is still a valid, a valid concern, a valid complaint. But the fact that you cannot access the game, and I'm not a patient man, but my patience has been tested, especially with the weekend. I'm like, yeah, we're not getting a patch. We're not getting a patch. Fuck,
dude. I've been right there with you. I'm like, when can I play? Because there wasn't like a whole lot on my schedule for like the rest of this month until February's got a lot of good shit, but like for the rest of like these next 2-3 weeks, I was like, great, I can play Rise. I got shit to do. Don't have to worry about it. And then no Rise. And I'm like, no, now I'm going stir crazy.
Yeah, exactly. You're finishing Salt Sanctuary and what's the other one that you were playing? Something?
Unsighted. Yeah, it's an indie game from Humble Bundle Games or whatever, small indie thing. Really good, like top-down isometric adventure game, kind of like A Link to the Past, but more sci-fi and stuff.
Oh, nice.
It was really fun. Like I cleared it in like 6 or 8 hours or something like that, but I mean, it's only like a $10-15 game. Really fucking good though.
I will say, because I've said my piece on sort of the troubles that Rise has had for me, at least. I've been popping into a lot of mutual friends of our streams, Jarbagel, Jiangxi, Vitalis, and things like that. They've all been streaming Rise, Seth, of course, and every single time they're like, "Oh, hey, where are you at right now, Cera?" I'm like, the loading screen.
You literally are at the loading screen right now.
I'm literally on I can't even see the start menu. But
yeah, okay. I haven't ventured. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting you.
No, I was going to say I could talk about it forever, but that's my issue that I'm having. I'm confident that it will be fixed, but it just is a shitty situation.
Right.
One good thing about it.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Different topic. We're interrupting each other. Okay. You go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I'm the same way because World launched like this too. World's mouse and keyboard support was awful at launch. I didn't play World at launch on PC for a while. I was still playing console. It took a couple weeks, months for it to get actual good, because it was like it is in Rise. It's an emulated analog for the mouse support. So there's like turn speed caps on your mouse, so you can't flick around and spam, because controllers can't basically. And so shit like that, which will get fixed. It's a shame that at launch it started like that, when you think that they would have, realized their mistake back in World and be like, oh no, we got this time. But it's not. Yeah. And then what I was saying earlier is the reason why I brought up the whole creator thing program is because they have a Discord that we can talk to and stuff, and there's a support channel where people bring up issues, and it's basically empty, except me asking, hey, is anyone aware that the mouse and keyboard support is really, really bad and some of the keybinds don't work, and it's just dead zone in there. So I'm like, I don't think that's gonna get resolved anytime soon.
I mean, at this point, it sounds like you've done what you can, outside of, unless there's like an official Capcom support ticket thing, which there may be. I don't know if you've tried that route.
I think there's an actual post on like the Steam forums, like for troubleshooting stuff, but that's just gonna get.
Steam forums, though.
Yeah, like it's gonna get
Reddit buried with more slurs. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's no point. I was like, I saw that, and I was like, I'm not going to the Steam forums. That's okay. I just make a bunch of tweets every day just saying, hey, I still can't play, and hopefully someone sees something.
My favorite was you as a fairly prominent Monster Hunter creator just tweeting a screen cap of Monster Hunter Rise 2.1 hours played. I don't know. That was just funny. And the funny part is so that 2 hours, the 2.1 hours, was me just trying to get my keybinds up. Like I spent 2 hours, and now because I'm exactly 2.1 hours in, I can't get a refund on Steam. Yeah, because the cap is 2 hours, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, I spent just enough time and gave up at just the wrong time.
I actually got a DMP file. I had to send off one of those for my issue, and I think my playtime in Rise right now is like 3 hours, but that's just from having the game open while 8 gigs of file transferred onto my PC. Right. My poor PC, by the way. I was like, oh hey, you're back from the shop with a brand new fan. Hey, try and convert this file, bitch. You've got like 20 gigs left on the C drive. Good luck.
So one other thing I actually wanted to bring up about the controls thing, what I figured what we could do, and because you could do in other games, is find the config file inside your folder and see if there was an issue with, like, you know, the MO scroll wheel, if it was bound to something, and just manually edit the config file and change your stuff that way.
If it was just like an ini file where it said, like, you know, mouse 3 to 4.
Well, there is a config ini file. Well, then that's the thing. So there is a config ini file, but it's only for like resolution and video stuff. Unfortunately, the keybinds and stuff is bound to your character and your character save, which is encrypted. Yeah, I know, that's that flag and face. Yeah, it's that bad. The config file for your character is encrypted and apart. It's the header for your save file. So we won't be able to see that, and I won't be able to change that forcibly until Asher, you know, finally cracks the encryption on that. But it just sucks that I can't even manually edit my keybinds because it's a part of the save file.
Yeah, and there's no like third-party option to edit keybinds unless you change your entire PC's keybinds,
but
right?
The thing is, like, I could change my PC keybinds, but the issue still remains that in-game, the only acceptable input is scroll wheel and control scroll wheel. So I'm going to get into the same problem where I have to use control for either the ammo bar or the item bar, and that's going to lock out all my other actions.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't win right now. I literally just can't.
At this point, it really is just like we've got to wait for a fix. And it sounds like from what you've said, with the tools you have access to, you've done what you can to resolve it. But yeah, very, very rough days. Very, very rough days. I will say that this, you know, watching everybody else play Rise has given me the chance to go back in and play Dark Souls 3 again, which I think I have to say, just out of there, I used to think DS1 was my favorite. DS3 by far my absolute favorite out of the series.
You're not wrong there. Dark Souls 1 just has a lot of nostalgia, as it was most people's first Dark Souls, because I don't think very many people played Demon Souls originally. I think they might have played it more after Dark Souls, but Dark Souls really kicked it off for everybody. Yeah. And I think it's just more nostalgia because the game's weird. It's super clunky. It's odd. It's not hard or anything. It's really weird. But Dark Souls 3 just feels so much more fluid and more alive, really. Like,
the more I play it, the more like bosses. Like I actually today, because I had nothing to do, right? I was like, okay, well, I've done most of the bosses in the main thing. Let's do the DLC. And then I was like, oh yeah, I've got to do Ashes of Ariandel. Nah, fuck this. I'm going straight to the Ring City. So I just cleared like the princes and everything else. I was like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm going to Gale or whatever he's called. And yeah, just going through that whole area again with like knowledge, because it was a New Game Plus save as well. Mm-hmm. So going through that again was just so fun. It's a good Prince,
DLC. Yeah, Demon Prince fight is a good fight.
That's coming as like, so I've been streaming and making content and stuff like that before I even touched Dark Souls 1. Like I did it as a stream incentive. So I'd never played a Souls game until fairly recently. I think like a year or two ago.
You're like, what's all the hype about?
Yeah, exactly. And I hated it. I rage quit because what happened is after I killed God, what's her name? Quelaag in DS1. I went through the Demon Ruins. I had no idea about the Ceaseless Discharge cheese, so I spent like an hour on that until chat was like, okay, look, here's how you do it. I was like, oh, fucking Jesus, really? And then I went all the way to the end of the Demon Ruins to find out that there was just this yellow wall blocking me off from the rest of the progression.
And you're like, fuck.
I didn't have the Lord Vessel. I hadn't gone to Anor Londo. I had to walk back, so I just stopped stream. Like, I think that's the only time I'd ever rage quit a stream. I was like, okay, fuck this. I'll sort this out. I'll stream tomorrow. Poof. Off. Like, it was so frustrating. But Demon Prince was like one of the most Monster Hunter fights. That and Midir in DS3, because it was like
straight up Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He always starts the fight with that like big old combo, but then he turns around and his head comes into position. I'm like, yes, Tigrex and Freedom Unite. Let's go. You know, it loops back around. Yeah, I only wanted to mention that briefly, and then I actually beat Frida again today. Hardest fight in a Souls game I've ever fought.
She probably is, yeah.
Yeah, first time it took me 3 straight hours of fighting it, and then today I did it in like 5 attempts on New Game Plus, and that's a bit of a brag, but it just shows how much that fight was ingrained into me. Jesus. Hard.
Parallax, who is another Monster Hunter player, but also a very prominent Souls streamer and stuff, has done anything and everything you can think of as far as the Souls game. Souls level 1 runs, no dodge, no block, no parry, no fucking anything.
Yeah.
Bare chested with a fucking plank shield that only, like, shit like that. Parallax is fucking insane.
Para's crazy. I watch his Souls videos from time to time. And yeah, seeing him doing his, like, I think it's New Game +7 Soul level 1 runs, no dodging, no blocking, or no parries or something like that. I think he did Nameless King with just him with a club, and it was beautiful. It was so good.
I'll have to plug his shit in because he does not get enough credit.
Actually, I'm going to put a specific recommendation in here. If anybody watching the podcast goes to Parallax's channel, check out his Valstrax Hammer runs, because shit me, he's good.
From GU?
From GU, Valorhammer. Yeah, very, very.
I have
very
to be
good
like specific because Valstrax Hammer is a Rise thing too. I mean,
people play Hammer in Rise, really?
Yeah. They play it for that one attack, their one Meteor Slam, because that's the only attack Hammer has.
Impact Crater, yes. The Impact Crater, dispenser. It's like a vending machine. You press one button, and it's like, yes, Impact Crater, Impact.
Yeah. So if you're that bored, so are you like really into Souls games now? Have you done like Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, and stuff like that?
I haven't done Bloodborne because I'm still waiting. Everybody's waiting for a PC.
It's not coming out on PC.
It's not happening. It's not happening. I think I almost broke this year and got my PlayStation 4 out of storage and was like, yeah, let's do it, And I think at some point I'm just gonna have to pull the trigger, do Bloodborne. Unfortunately, so I did all Dark Souls. I've done all 3 Dark Souls games in order. So DS1 was the first one. I thought it was okay. I took a break for like a month, and then I went back into it full force, and I really enjoyed it until I got to New Londo. Sucked. I hate that area. The shit that I mentioned about before with the Demon Ruins, Bed of Chaos. I mean, nobody likes Bed of Chaos, right?
It's not a fight. It's a fucking RNG crap shot.
Yeah, it's a platforming game in a game where you have to pray to jump, basically. And then Gwyn, I think, because I was getting my parries all fucked up, took me like an hour to do. But that was a learning experience. And at the end of it, I really enjoyed it. Then I went to Dark Souls 2. I did not like that game at all. I really did not like that game. I think
it takes some getting used to because it's different. It's a totally different game. The biggest gripe I have about Dark Souls 2 is that, one, the lighting is fucking ass. Like, visually, the game looks like dog shit.
And then, terrible.
And then also, like, the maps and the enemy placements are fucking all over the place, uninspired bullshit. Like, it's gross.
That's the whole thing. Uninspired, right? Bosses. I think there was like a couple of bosses I remember, and then the ending really soured it for me because I can't even remember. I went through Dranglake Castle, and I think I got to Vendrick, and they mentioned something about giants, and I had to go through the memories, and I spent an hour doing that, and then chat was like, you can fight the final boss already. I was like, no, I didn't. The game doesn't make that clear for you. I can go to this random door that I need to remember. What? Like, yeah. And of course, Shrine of Amana exists in Scholar of the First Sin, and they made that area abhorrent in the
remaster.
In that version.
Remaster.
Yeah, remastered, by the way. Yeah. And then there was one tiny thing about DS2. Well, I say tiny. It's the fact that you can just smash your head into a brick wall. Like, from the run from a certain bonfire to the first Pursuer boss fight, you can just run through, kill things, and then if you die, you come back, you kill things. Eventually, they don't respawn. You don't have to learn. You can just smash your way through things and learn nothing. Yeah. And I had to do that. Am I bad at the game? Probably, but I don't know. Just DS2 didn't
it's
sit
got a
right
lot
for me.
Of weird issues. The only thing that DS2 really got right, which is where I think most people like it, is back when it was the most recent Dark Souls game and people were playing it. PvP. Yeah. It's, ask any Souls fan, the PvP in Dark Souls 2 was the best because the actual combat systems in Dark Souls 2 were really good. Like, it actually felt really good to play. It's just all the PvE shit was just shit. But the actual character use is good. Yeah,
that's probably why it didn't sit well for me because I played the Souls game. I'm not really a PvP player. Like, the most PvP I do is I've been learning Pokemon VGC recently, and that's it. I don't do that. Like, if I get invaded, I don't go like, oh yeah, let's crush this bitch. I just go, for fuck's sake, I want to finish the game. I want to get through the story.
Dude, I'm going to invade Jin so much in Elden Ring. I'm going to make sure he cannot progress.
you've got to find like the stinkiest, like sorcery, poison.
Oh,
like,
so I'm gonna go bow only. Like I'm gonna just do bow, and I'm just gonna stay as far away as possible and just fucking plink at him for fucking 10 damage at a time. I'm just gonna drive him insane because he won't be able to progress as long as I'm there. He's not gonna like try and go to a boss or continue when he knows he's invaded.
Yeah, he's gonna see you and he's gonna go, right, I'm getting that bitch. Like,
yeah, I'll just hide and run and just blink arrows at him and just harass him the entire time and just slow his progress down as much as I can. That's all I'm gonna do.
Sounds like, that sounds right to me. But yeah, so DS2 was just, I don't know. It was okay. I actually went back recently and tried the DLCs and the, whichever one had Fume Night in, that one was really good.
Old Iron King?
Old Iron King, yeah. And then I enjoyed, what was the Sin of the Slumbering whatever?
Sin from, I forget
the
what
dragon.
I forget what the first DLC was called.
Sunken King, was it?
Was it Sunken Iron and Ivory?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, Sunken.
Yeah, I think so the Sunken thing. But yeah, Sin was really cool. That whole area leading down to him sucked balls, but the fight was cool.
God yeah. It was more of that like trap castle kind of bullshit. But so I really enjoyed that. But DS2 wasn't redeemable. And then DS3, amazing bosses, iconic music, great areas, like. There's a few shitty areas like the archives I always just run through. I'm just like, I'm not dealing with these bookshelves and sorcerers and shit. I'm just running through this. I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think like there's only a couple of like terrible bosses, but outside of that, just genuinely just a brilliant game. And the DLC is fantastic. So
if you got the
DS3.
time now, when are you gonna play Salt and Sanctuary?
So explain Salt and Sanctuary to me, because I have no idea what this fuck
It's Dark Souls, but 2-dimensional.
Okay.
It's really fucking fun. It's literally just a 2D Souls game. You know Blasphemous that's on the Switch and stuff?
I don't know any games that aren't Souls or Monster Hunter.
Oh, what? There's Souls-like, basically what we call them, Souls-like games, which basically are heavily, if not completely, inspired by Souls games, and just do stuff a little bit differently. Like The Surge. I fucking love The Surge, which is a sci-fi, like, I don't know really what you want to call it. It's like super heavy industrial Souls games. They're really good. But Salt and Sanctuary is literally just 2D Souls, and I don't know how many fucking hours. I have at least 300 hours in the game between like my PS4 and my PC stuff. Really fucking fun. But if you have time to kill, since you're not playing Rise and you're starting to get into Souls games, play some not Souls games.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm looking at the trailer right now. It looks actually. Oh no, there's dogs. Never mind. Terrible game.
There's only like 3 dogs in that game, but yes, there are Souls dogs, and they're annoying.
Looks pretty cool. I like the style. Yeah. Okay, that'll be definitely one for the wish list when Monster Hunter dries out for a bit. Speaking of Monster Hunter games that have dried out, you like my segue there? What's happened recently with Monster Hunter remakes? Big old problem in the community. I don't often talk about the community because I think everybody else does that for me, which is great. So they get all of the vitriol. But Monster Hunter Frontier.
You are an avid Frontier player.
I am. I'm an avid Frontier fan. I'm an avid Frontier player. I played it for 1.5 years before it shut down, maybe more than that, maybe 2 years. Learned everything I possibly could about the game. Even learned how to read Japanese to get into it. Big fan of Frontier. And God, how much can we say? I mean, those of you who are active on social media know that there is a project to resurrect Frontier and to bring private servers in. Private servers are functional. They have been functional for a very long time. I've had access for a very, very long time. However, the assets and the launcher have been publicized before the team who were behind the effort wanted it to. Basically, there's a team of Fist, and that's their username, as I know them on Discord, is Fist, and Fist.moe, and they have got a working server. However, there's a reason it's been under wraps. We've been trying to keep all of it, under wraps because there's a lot of very complicated copyright issues with crossover content. There's things like Hatsune Miku and, a lot of Japanese IPs that could be, any of them could be subject to an orbital strike of DMCA at any time. So we all sort of understood that. However, clout stops for no man. So there was a team who basically stole the assets, made their own server, publicized it, immediately started getting people involved, and there was a lot of hate on both sides. Really difficult to go through. And then one very unfortunate thing that happened was with Rage Gaming, who I'm sure a lot of people know. Rage Gaming made a series on Frontier under the belief that they had access from the official team who were working on this private server. It wasn't. It was just a random person. Just a random person who had access to all of the files that everybody had been working on, gave them access, and then went, hey, yeah, I'm an official part of the team. You can make X amount of videos on it. So basically the crossroads came to, we don't want it publicized. Rage wasted a bunch of time on making a bunch of videos that they now can't publish, or can't publish a majority of them. So, and everybody loses. It was probably one of the messiest dramas I've seen, because before it's just like, oh, what if I imagined Hinoa laying an egg? Shut the fuck up.
Right, it's just Monster Hunter drama is usually like just minor squabbles. Yeah, it's just fucking stupid shit like that. This is an actual thing, though.
Yeah, very damaging and very, very disheartening to the team who worked a long while on it. Again, I think it's worth saying, you mentioned Fem, I'm a big fan of Frontier. I love playing Frontier. I love talking about it, even if people don't want to listen to it. I've had access, I'll say it, I've had access for 2 years, and I've kept my mouth shut about it. That's all I'm going to say. Like, it's a difficult thing to talk about because I wasn't directly involved in it. I got lucky. I was in the right place in the right time for somebody to give me access to it. And I basically just did what I could and, helped out where I could. I didn't do much. I'm not trying to, spout out like I'm the reason Frontier's still let. I'm not. I'm just a dude who was, there.
I just like to play Frontier.
Yeah, exactly. And it was fun. And it still is fun. And the problem is the more attention you give to it, the more people are going to just go, well, I can play it now. Let's go for it. You can't. I'm of the opinion you shouldn't be streaming it. You shouldn't be drawing attention to it. Just let it be the worst kept secret. But when that whole thing dropped, when people were like, Frontier is available to everybody now, it was just the biggest actual mess. Like, I can't count the amount of people who are flitting between Twitter and Discord and all this and all that, and DMs and blah, 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 and they were like, I'm trying to sort this. It was fucking awful. Like, so bad. But I think that's the closest we've come to, like, actual drama recently. Like, rather than just people arguing for the sake of it, or trying to be the main character of Monster Hunter Twitter of the day,
Yeah, and I think it's good to talk about because, like we said, we don't really get any like actual issues in the Monster Hunter community. It's just a lot of either pointing fingers or stupid comments that go viral for whatever reason. People just like to pick up on stuff and go crazy.
Dude, my favorite thing is somebody making an opinion who's got like 10 followers, and then one big account who can't keep their mouth shut picks up like, kill this man, turn him into dust. Like, Jesus. Like,
that's the most
shut
we
up
get.
For a second.
But having an actual project in jeopardy, basically, just because that divided, two halves of a Frontier community, people who wanted to be public and people who didn't, apparently. It's a real shame. I don't really know what's going to happen going forward. I'm sure eventually someone's going to take notice at the private servers and try something. I don't know. It's a shame that it got out this way.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. A lot of people were hurt. A lot of people were upset by it. Like, legitimately, like it did impact a fair few people. Again, I can't talk for the team because I'm not part of it. I just say patience. That's it. Just give us some time. Give them some time. Yeah, and good things come to those who wait. Like, but for all those who like Frontier, thank you, because at least you're not like the Reddit crowd who are like, oh, Spiky Monster bad. Nergigante is my favorite, by the way. That still happens.
Do you know if there's going to be like an actual public release of the Frontier servers eventually, or is it still going to be a permanently kept hush-hush kind of thing?
I think, I don't know. From what I understand, there'll be, how do I put it? Like invites, because it's a server and that costs. So there'll be limited access. What I would say is just contact the team directly. I'll tell you after this because, I did want to mention it. It is something that I did want to talk about, but I don't think that giving it any more attention, at least on a public video at this point, is worth, because it might cause more harm than good. And
right.
I don't want that to be reflected back on me being selfish here.
Fair enough.
I think contacting the team directly, just being upfront and honest about it. They're very understanding, they're very blunt as well. They'll tell you, that it's like, if you're being a dick, just shut up and keep it quiet kind of stuff, which I appreciate. But yeah, I think that's all I can really say is just to the general community, if you watch this, shut up and wait, please. Like, that's about it.
We can't play Rise, you can't play Frontier, just hold off.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go play DOS instead. When's the DOS remake coming out, right? Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So yeah, we're gonna call it here for now. Thank you for hanging around, Cera, and thanks for people for watching. It's much appreciated. I'm gonna put like Cera and Parallax's YouTube stuff in the comments. You should definitely check out Parallax and stuff. But yeah, so we'll be back in a wee bit. So thank you all and have fun. Peace, y'all.
Peace.